Hi, everybody.
Hello, everyone.
We're back. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, I'm Sivani Babu. I'm one of the co-founders of Hidden Compass.
And I'm Sabine K. Bergman, and I am the other co-founder of Hidden Compass.
And we're joined today with Michele Bigley, who is a contributor in our current issue. Hi, Michele. Thank you for joining us.
Hi.
Above all her accolades as a writer, activist, and teacher, Michele is most proud of her identity as a mother. Her two sons, Kai and Nico, remind her every day that making the world a better place is the only work worth pursuing.
We're so happy to have you with us, Michele, and it's been such an honor and a privilege to run this piece in our issue, and we have gotten to go back and forth with you a lot about the story itself, and now we get to sit you down and ask you a few questions. And the first one that I want to start with is, this is a story about facing a deep-rooted fear, and it's one that I think a lot of us who live in California and places where there are lots of wildfires, we have had this fear and we identify with it. And that question of, are we too late going there? What was it like to look at that fear and then just dive right into it and explore it?
I think it made it even scarier. But I don't know. I mean, I've always learned that when you have a fear, you have to walk towards it instead of walk away, like, silly things. And I mean, this is a lame example, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. When I first started traveling, I was teenager, really traveling, not just, vacations with my parents, but I was a teenager, and I was in England by myself and found, stumbled upon some other friends that were also there. And we were at a friend's house, and we were in Southern England, and we were going through the forest to get to probably a pub. I'm sure that's where we were going. I don't really remember where we were going, but that's probably where we were. And it was night, and I was feeling scared of the dark. And my friend grabbed my hand and she said, "Close your eyes and walk with me and go into it." And I feel like, as a mom, I've had to take that advice and then open my eyes at the same time. And I think that's really what this story and, the larger byproduct, which is the book that I'm working on, is allowing me to do, or forcing me to do, is to say, this is my biggest fear, is that I brought humans onto this planet, and there will not be a planet that is safe for you to exist on, especially when I'm not around to protect you. And so the only way I feel I can be a good mom is to constantly look at it and bear witness, and then figure out what I can do to do something. And really the thing I know how to do is write. So I'm like, that's what I'm going to start with, and let's see what that becomes. So I think that, you see a lot of sadness, you see a lot of dark, it's walking into forests that have been fully burned, going into communities that have totally burned down, and seeing, learning how to honor what grief is there about it, right? And then look for, where's there green? Where's something regenerating here? Where's something, what did not burn? Who is doing something? I went up into I don't think this was in the story, but I went up into Bonnie Doon in Santa Cruz County in the mountains to a place that burned. And I was walking through all these burned houses, and I met this woman. She was this older French woman, and her house had burned. All that remained was, there was a trampoline that her kids had used when they were young, and now they were all grown. And then there was this garden with this path, and it was lined with mosaic tiled, beautiful tiles that her and her kids had made. But there was no house. There was no way, she'd brought a trailer there, and she said, "I'm going to make use of this land. I'm going to do something good with it. I either want it to be a solar farm, or, I want to plant a garden here. I want to do something worthy with this land. This is my land. This is my home. And I want to live on it for the rest of my life, but I don't want it to go to waste because of fire, And so I think it's honoring the sadness, and then at the same time, looking at, where are people finding good out of this? Where, good, that's a terrible thing to say, but you get my point. Where's their hope, or where's their, where action to do something inspiring or whatever. So I think it's both, right? It's the duality of facing all the emotions.
Yes. Yeah. And it's so emblematic of the issue's theme, which is out of the ashes, which is, like you said, honoring the darkness and also celebrating the hope. And in a way, you in this story as the narrator are the person who reaches out their hand and says, "Take my hand, close your eyes and walk with me." here.
Right.
Well, that's so nice. I love that.
Well, those are the kinds of stories we want to publish,
Yeah.
is that, you know, the ones that we want to read, and that me, as someone who has had that fear of wildfire in my home, you know, I'm a native of California, and you know, I don't want to close my eyes and walk there, but I need to. And so this is why that story is important.
Yeah, it resonated with both of us.
Yeah.
You know, just being residents of California, I grew up here. I've evacuated the last few years on multiple occasions, and so looking at it and knowing what it could mean practically for me, but your story takes us beyond the looking at what it means for you and looking at what it means down the line. And I love that about this story.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned a book that a project that you're working on. I want to talk more about that, which is, you know, you've described this book as being about taking your sons to meet stewards who are protecting fragile ecosystems around the world. And you talk about how that has turned you into change makers at home, which I think is fascinating. It sounds really interesting. So tell us more about that and how you've become change makers at home and how that started.
So the whole thing started was when my older son Kai was 3, and we went to the Great Barrier Reef because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna take you to all the places, right? You're gonna be that kid. And we got there and it was a graveyard. Like the whole, you know, we were just walking on dead coral, it's all bleached. And, you know, and then, you know, I'm a writer and a traveler, and I was like, well, dude, I got to take you everywhere before it's gone. Right. And so I started making this goal. Like I made this list and we started going, and then we would go somewhere and then the place like would have an environmental disaster, like either while we were there or soon after we left. And I like fell into my own ego despair and like all that, you know, there's many words for it now. And I realized like the only way that I'm going to figure out how to do this is if I meet people who are actively doing something to either help adapt or help find a solution or something. And so we started finding people. So we like the first people we met were in Panama. There was this group of kids who were teaching their parents how to recycle and clean up their really polluted beaches and planting trees. And then, you know, we went up and met these, you know, scientists who are, you know, doing all these crazy things like covering glaciers with blankets and, you know, to protect them, to buy us time. We met, you know, we've just gone to like the all ends of the earth to go find people. And then of course, COVID happened and we couldn't go anywhere anymore. And we realized like, wait a second, like, you know, we can create the kind of communities we've been traveling to see. And in fact, we must. And so, you know, some of the things, you know, we've taken messages from all the places we visited, like in Japan, when you go, you know, there's no trash cans on the streets, right? So there's like this phrase called motenai or motena. I don't know if I sang it right, but it's basically like leave no trace. And so people bring their own trash bag with them. And when they're out and about, they'll like put their trash into bags and then take it home to dispose of it at home. So we've started doing things like that. And you know, we planted a community garden like the Hawaiians that we met. And now we're working on expanding that community garden like to this abandoned lot in our neighborhood. And we're planting fruit trees, as I talked about in the story. And, you know, we're doing beach cleanups, and we're trying, you know, my kids help turn their school zero waste for a month, you know, so it's taking the messages that we've learned out in the world and saying, how do we apply this here in a way that is doable and realistic for the community we happen to be in, and that people will accept, I guess. And that's the story of the book. That's really what it's about.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love hearing about all the different aspects of this project and how it's spilling into other parts of your life. What is your favorite thing about what you do?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I'd always say travel, right? Like, I think, you know, up until, I don't know, right now I'm in Oregon and I'm traveling through Oregon, and I'm like really bummed out because there's a wildfire that's very close to where we are. The air is very, very smoky. We drove through like a whole town that was burnt. And I think I'm just like, is the traveler's mindset is the traveler's mindset something I can do at home as well? And how can I retain that in some meaningful way? And so I think it's traveling, but I think it's also getting to share that experience with my family.
Yeah, certainly. We talk a lot at Hidden Compass about travel is not necessarily, you don't have to go to the ends of the earth, that
Right.
it's about travel, at least the travel that I like is about a journey. And you
Right.
can have so many different kinds of journeys, and intellectual
Right.
journeys, and some of them are physical journeys, but sometimes it's a different form that would surprise us.
Yeah, our friend Don George often talks about the inner journey and the outer journey. And the inner journey can be significant even when the outer journey is not taking you too far away, which I think is really important to realize, particularly. And I think it's something that a lot of us have realized over the course of the last year and a half, when travel didn't mean what it meant before.
Right. And then how to learn, like one of the biggest things that I've really taken is like, I get to now be a traveler anywhere I am, right? Like I didn't realize that before COVID. Like before COVID, I was like, I'm a traveler, but my identity is cemented on the fact that I'm a traveler in other places. But now it's like, I get to be a traveler anywhere I am. Like I get to be a traveler on my street, in my house. I get to use that perspective in a new way. And I think getting that, I mean, I miss it desperately. Like I'm aching to get on an airplane and go to another country and get any other perspective but the one that we get right here. But like, I also understand that, this is the reality that we have right now. And I'm okay with it at the moment because of this whole like lifelong education that I've had as a traveler.
That's great. We also like to leave our audience and give our audience something to think about, something to go to next, introduce them to new sources of information and entertainment. So what's the last book, article, or podcast you recommended to someone?
Ooh, I just today recommended Catherine May's book Wintering to a mom that I met at the pool. It's another journey of traveling within and staying put, but going on a different kind of journey, and it's a quieter journey. It's beautiful. It's like travel writing, but like so quiet, right? Like it's beautiful. So I recommend it.
Wonderful.
We'll have to add that to our list as well.
Yes.
And it has been so great, Michele, to publish your piece and then also to see people contributing to your campaign. So for those who are not familiar with how Hidden Compass does things, we publish our stories and we also publish alongside them a fundraising campaign. And we work in partnership with the contributor to spread the word about this campaign. And then we split the proceeds 50-50 with the contributor. They get their half on top of their article pay. And it's a way for our audience and our readers to participate and to be able to take the next step. If you're moved by a story, you actually get to support the human beings who are behind it, like us. And so, Michele, for these people who've already contributed, what would you like to say to them, to the people who've already contributed to your campaign so far?
I mean, thank you, right? Thank you for supporting writers and editors and amazing people like all of us behind Hidden Compass. Like it's such a gift for you to get to use your voice and, support writing that speaks to you. I'm so grateful. And I just hope that you keep supporting Hidden Compass because I think it's such an amazing publication. And, we have to do this, right? Like it's the same thing. We vote with our money, right? So like, we just keep supporting work that matters. And, I was just at the Van Gogh, like the immersive Van Gogh. And, when I walked in, it was like, Van Gogh only made like $2,000 from his work. And then now it's selling for $1 gazillion. And I was thinking about how like so many creative people never get to see the impact that their work has on the people that they're creating for. And I think Hidden Compass is allowing all of us to say thank you to the people who speak to us. So keep doing it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michele. It's been wonderful having you here today and getting to chat with you. And thank you to everybody who's been watching. We will be back next week. We're excited to talk to you and talk to another contributor next week. But in the meantime, go read the story. It's called A Spark of Hope. It's in the current issue. And we will see you all later. Thanks, Michele.
So good.
Thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.